All right, next up, North Carolina, Georgia Tech. We've got North Carolina 11.5-point road favorite, 63.5 being the total. So this could go either one of two ways. North Carolina is devastated and can't pick themselves up off the mat following that first loss of the season against Virginia, or they do pick them. And there's really no reason for them to say, oh, geez, we're screwed. Our season's over. There's still a path. It's not a clear pathway anymore to get to the ACC championship, but there is still a pathway to do that here for North Carolina. So if you're UNC, you've got to pick yourselves up off the mat here and get back on track. I think they can do that here in this game. Now, do I want to lay 11.5 on the road? Not necessarily, but I think this North Carolina offense and Drake May will be able to move this football. Georgia Tech has had a horrendous defense this year, 48 to Ole Miss, 38 to Bowling Green in that brutal loss they had. That's the loss that got their defensive coordinator fired, the loss to Bowling Green. After he got fired, the DC, they had that better defensive effort against Miami where they had that big shocker, 23-20. And you thought, okay, that the team came to life after the loss to Bowling Green. What a win against Miami. The defense looked better. Maybe that coordinator change was good for the team. Well, they went back to the old Georgia Tech defense last week against Thomas Castellanos and Boston College. I mean, right back to just bad tackling, blown assignments,
308 on the ground,
horrible run defense. The whole gamut came back for Georgia Tech. So obviously the DC getting fired wasn't the fix. It was a fix for 1 week, essentially, and then it went back to that old bad Georgia Tech defense last week in a 38-23 loss to Boston College. Boston College is an improving offense. We've seen flashes from them at times, but how do you give up, gosh, it's brutal. It's 563 yards of offense for Boston College last week against Georgia Tech. And that I loved it because I had the over in that game. And that's what I would look at here.
Got there.
I've cashed some North Carolina overs the last couple weeks. The Miami game last week, the Virginia game with North Carolina also went over the total. Georgia Tech's been an over team for the most part this year. That's what I'm thinking here in this game. Just like the last game we talked about with West Virginia UCF. Forget about the side, bet on points from both sides here. And I do like Haynes King for Georgia Tech. I think him and the offense are okay. It's the defense that's been a big issue for Georgia Tech this year. What do you think here, C-Mac?
Yeah, there should be points in this game, and it can get over. North Carolina, the defense just kind of fell apart. Virginia, just where we mentioned earlier with them, just was able to run it all over them. They should have an easy time in this game. But one thing with Georgia Tech, we do this with these teams, is as soon as they're a favorite, you just don't want anything to do with them. Like last week, I had the over as well. I'm glad it got there. And you ripped through it 300 yards on the ground for Boston College. It'll be easy. But when you're a dog now, because I think they have the weapons offensively, Savannah, I think they could hang a little bit in this game. So I'm looking at Georgia Tech. I think this is another game you mentioned, our guy Nutflush. Yeah, I mean, we could throw out the team totals, basically know what they're kind of going to be, but they won't be out for a couple days. But I like that play. This is another game that you could have team totals here.
Team totals on both sides. I really wouldn't argue with that. Nutflush Allen's the team totals machine here, guru, if we will, here talking about the team totals. Yeah, and you won't see those posted, obviously, for another couple of days, but should be a game where we see some pretty good offense here from both sides. And this North Carolina offense was already pretty good. Then they get Tez Walker back from that joke of a sanction against him from the NCAA. And since they got him back, it's just and that's an NFL talent at receiver, without a doubt, Tez Walker. And it's taken the North Carolina offense to an even greater level.